Hi, Tim. How you doing, brother? Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing good, man. Appreciate you showing up, Tim. Oh, really? Awesome. Good. You got everything you need. What do you need? What more do you need, right? Yeah. I don't spend a lot of money on camera gear, that's for sure. Trying to get this camera set here, so. All right. Oh, right on. Yeah, I met Mike down at Caddo Lake one day. We were at Johnson's Ranch, and he was there. So we gave each other a brotherly embrace. And I haven't met Aaron in person yet, but imagine someday. So. Yeah, I should go to a camera show someday. Did they have a booth? Where did you see them at, Tim? Were they at a booth or were they just wandering around? Oh, yeah. I noticed lately Bruce Amori's been getting a lot of publicity about his some of his lava forays, some of the lava photos he's been doing and flying around with a helicopter and stuff like that. So, Picture Line store in downtown Salt Lake City. Awesome. We just had just a little bit of time. My son and I had a little bit of time, and we went into Salt Lake City and went to Temple Square and visited the monument down there. And yeah, we've got let me think, 4 or 5 great grandfather that's on that deal. So Dan Hawk is, yeah, he's Sony, that's for sure. He's Sony to the bone. Oh, I guess I'm Nikon to the bone. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that does not surprise me. I was kind of surprised how easy it was to get downtown and find a parking place and wander around downtown Salt Lake City. Oh. Well, I'm glad you're here, Tim. You may be the only one showing up tonight. Yeah, for sure. SmithCon. Hey, I'm glad you made it. Thanks for showing up. And Alan is here. You're not late at all, buddy. 7:01. You're retired. You show up anytime you want. Hey, Pat. How you doing, brother? It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you here, neighbor. We'll find a day when you and I can get out and shoot some creeks in the area or something together. So, yeah, right on. So I got maybe three people here. 1, 2, 3, 4 people here. Ah, you're up at Timberline. They got new snow up at Timberline. Got fresh snow. I heard about maybe a foot of snow up there. I'm not sure. You could probably tell me, right, Pat? You say, hey, Pat, you say you're listening on your phone. Are you watching too or just listening? Hi, Craig. Oh, you should have waved, Craig. I would have waved back. Yeah, about a foot of snow up there. Yeah, well, the mountain needs it. You know, we'll take late snow. We'll take any kind of snow, but it's really not that late in the season yet. You know, it's May. I don't get in too much of a hurry until June or July. So, but I've photographed snow on blossoms down here in late in April before. So, right on, Pat. Well, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, you got to pardon my mess behind me. I'm stacking a bunch of stuff in my office here and starting to overflow. We're doing a little bit of remodeling in the place, and so I'm doing storage here as well as my own mess of stuff that's in here. So, anyway, sweet, right on. Well, I'm going to wait a couple more minutes and see if a couple more people show up here. Otherwise, we're going to get started on this. I'm still trying to figure out these live videos. They're kind of new to me, so I'm hoping to keep doing them maybe every Sunday night. So I have to keep moving forward because I broke my prescription glasses. Now I have readers. So I might have to move forward to see what the heck's being written on here. So thank you, Craig. That makes me feel better. That makes me feel a lot better. Um, in addition, to my photography stuff in here, I'm also some people know this, some people don't. I'm a hardcore local historian, and I write about the history of Mount Hood, things that go on up here. So I've been collecting Mount Hood memorabilia, historical photos mostly, for about maybe 40 years now. I started collecting postcards and have kind of branched out since then. And I've been trying to write and gather enough information together or enough stories together to put out a local history book. So I got a lot of stuff in this little bitty room. You know, Tim, I would love to show you around the gorge for sure. Alan, oh, trying to increase the font size? That's probably what I should be doing so I can see it better, right? Yeah, Tim, I'd love to show you around. You and Carol both. You know, I used to live in the gorge, so I probably know the gorge better than most anybody out there. Not everybody, but you know, quite a few people. So Craig, maybe next year, right? Yeah. Yeah, if you ever wanted to join one of my workshops, Tim, out in the gorge, I got one scheduled for this coming fall. Just let me know. I can add you to the list. So, you know, Pat, we got to finish the video we started. It's not a matter of one day might even maybe make a video. We just got to finish the one we started. We just got to finish the one we started. You know, that would be progress. So, anyhow, add you to the workshop or the list for the workshop this fall, Craig. Be happy to have you join us. We're going to be doing waterfalls the whole time. So, hopefully, show some people a different place or a different perspective for some familiar waterfalls. So, all right, Tim, I'll wait for you, buddy. I'll have to probably leave every now and then too, just to go pee. Here, let me see. I'm going to try to send you a link to the waterfall workshop. Whoops, let me see here. Get the right one. Columbia River Gorge, October 2026. Trying to gather up, trying to get together another Alaska workshop. Hey, Craig, this link that I just put on there, that'll send you to my website with information about the Gorge workshop. And if you got any more questions, just let me know. You know how to get a hold of me. So I have not been up to Punchbowl since the fire. I intend to. And I've been kind of, this winter, I was going to say, I'm going to wait till spring. Now spring's here, so now I got to get my ass out on the trail and get up there. So, yeah, there's a couple perspectives of the waterfall that I'd like to get. So, thank you, Craig. I hope you join us. I used to live in the little town of Bridalveil. Hey, Tim, you're back. That was quick. Must have grabbed the bottle of Jack Daniels. Of course, I'm joking. You know I'm kidding. I'm drinking my ale of ginger here. All right, you guys. It's about 7:08, so I'm going to gather y'all together. I'm going to see if I can share my screen over here, and we're going to start. Let's see. This share. Can you guys see this photo of this up there? Give me a thumbs up. I think you should be able to. So, sweet. All right. We're off and running then. Okay, good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. This is a photo that I took back in 2015, I believe. And I was not doing any kind of, I wasn't really doing any bracketing or anything. I was just doing single exposures. And so I chose this one because there's such a disparity in light. This one has got dark shadows and a bright sky. But I want to point to the histogram that I have in the upper right-hand corner here of Lightroom. And you'll notice that even though it's all the way, or not all the way, or even though there's a lot of shadows, it's not completely touching the edge yet. Very close, but not quite. And then the highlights are over here, and they're starting to spike on the right side. So on a very sunny day with a lot of brights and a lot of darks, you're going to be wanting to make sure that you watch your histogram and try to balance the lights and the darks, kind of like what I did here. That way, my sky wasn't blown out, and my shadows, you can still see there's a little bit left in the shadows here. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to resolve all this thing and try to even all this out and save this photograph, okay? All right. You'll also notice, too, that I got a 1 second exposure. This day and age, I probably would go with maybe a half of a second. And that would help two things. Well, number one, it's long enough for the water to give you that flow, that effect, that soft water effect. Half a second typically is good. And if you have leaves bouncing around, it'll minimize the amount of movement in the leaves and stuff. So, and this particular spot, thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to process this thing. So there's wind coming through here. So it was, no matter what I did, there was still a little bit of leaf movement in there, but we're going to just ignore that. Sometimes it is what it is. So, all right. So I'm going to get going here, and I'm going to start at the top. All right. All right. We're going to start at the top. Well, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to click lens correction. I'm going to make sure the remove chromatic aberration is on. and enable profile corrections. Now, enable profile corrections, that one there's optional. Typically what it's trying to do is it's trying to correct for barrel distortion in the lens, as well as some vignetting on the outside of it. So you could take a look at it and decide on your own. You can always switch it back. So I also should mention that you can set it so that when you import your photos into Lightroom, these will already be clicked off. Okay, so I can live without profile correction, but I want to always make sure that I have remove chromatic aberration clicked off. And that's going to show up most in your hard edges between a darker area and a lighter area, typically the sky. And I'm sure you guys have probably seen it's usually magenta on one side and then cyan on the other side. And if you click this, it will take away those colors on the edges. So it doesn't ruin anything or hurt anything to have it clicked on if there's no chromatic aberration in here. But once you understand chromatic aberration, you can typically see it from a mile away if you see somebody else's photo that has chromatic aberration in the photo. Okay, so we've done lens correction and chromatic aberration. I'm going to come up to the top, and because we have such a disparity in brightness and darkness, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my highlights down, and I'm going to bring these shadows up. Now, at the same time, I want to point out the histogram up here. You notice it moved away from the left wall of the histogram here. It brought the highlights down too, but we're gonna mess with this further down. Okay. It's not often that I will mess with the blacks in the whites, but in this particular case, it's going to help me. A lot of times I can deal with it with a tone curve. Okay. But in this particular case, I wanted to bring the highlights up a little bit because they got a little dark. Oh, I wanted to point something else out to you. I'm going to hit reset. Now, if you look up here, you see there's these little arrows up above the histogram. If you hover over those, let's see, reset. I guess the highlights. Okay, now look to the darks. The darks over here on the left, you can see where the darks are crunched on that side. Oh, okay. All right. I see it now. Now, if you hover over the right side, which is the highlights, if you look up at the top, you can see the red that's up here. Those are the highlights that are being clipped out. It's not very many. All right. So I was able to save that. All right. And then the darks really aren't as bad as they look. If you look here and you notice that those blue spots are the only place where it's really crushed in the dark areas there. So that's something to keep in mind. These are pretty good tools to have up here if you're trying to figure out, where your darkest parts are or your brightest parts. You can keep this turned on by clicking on it, and it'll stay on. And then when you start working with your photo, we can bring the shadows up, and you notice the blue goes away. It starts to go away. I'm going to bring my exposure up a little bit too here. Bring my blacks up. All right. Now, if you guys showed up to my last video, you'll remember that I said I like dark areas, but I kind of like to be able to see into them. I don't really care my particular photos for one that's really black, because if you're standing there in this scene, your eyes are always adjusting. This isn't adjusting all the time, but in the real world, you're able to look down into your darkness. Your eyes will adjust to it and see it. Then to the highlights, it'll adjust so you can see that. If that makes sense. So I like to be able to see into my shadows. So I usually pull those up. All right, one more thing that I forgot to do, because I'm getting carts in front of horses here. Right up here, I like to click on my color profile here. And then this one was shot in Adobe Color. And because it's such a broad dynamic range, I like to even it out a little bit by hitting neutral. So let's hit reset on this thing. We'll start over again. Lens correction, remove chromatic aberration, bring that down, and then come up to basic up here and hit neutral. Now watch the histogram when I hit neutral. You see how it evened out that histogram? We're no longer mashing it against the left side, and the right side came down where the highlights are. So if we click this on, there's hardly anything in the darks, or you can barely see a little blue here. And then if I click on the highlights up here, you might see a little bit of blue up here on the top, or a red, up here on the top. All right. And that was just one click, changing this color profile. Okay. A lot of times when you hit the Adobe neutral, sometimes it's camera neutral, depends. You can always click over here. Where is it? Click over here, and there are more profiles down here that you can choose from. You can even click on instant black and white and stuff like that. So if I'm not sure if you guys were aware of this or not, but these are some color profiles that you can just click on. They're kind of like presets and stuff. Well, as a matter of fact, they kind of are presets. And the Adobe RAW ones are here. So Adobe Neutral is the one that I chose. So, and then when you go back, just hit close. So typically, I don't usually go in there. I usually use just the ones that are similar to the profiles that are in your camera. And if you guys have ever gone into the color profiles in your camera, you'll notice you got a color, landscape, neutral, portrait, standard, vivid, just like this. It's okay. All right. I hope I'm not confusing you guys by bouncing around here a little bit, but I'll clarify what I've done so far. Lens correction, chromatic aberration, right? And then I came up and changed the color profile. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is go, and I already showed you this, but I'm going to hit the highlights, bring the highlights down somewhere in there, and then I'm going to bring my shadows up. Now we're starting to get someplace. Now I might bring my exposure up a little bit here, and a lot of times I'll click on it and hit my plus or minus keys. And I'm also keeping an eye up here on the white part, not necessarily the RGB histograms. It's the white one that you want to pay attention to. That's the combined RGB histogram. Okay. All right. We're working our way down here. I might play with the white just a little bit, but it may send the highlights a little bit over the edge, and I don't want them to do that. So now I'm going to pull some blacks out a little bit too. Okay, let's close that. Let's go down here to our tone curve. Now with my tone curve, what I'm wanting to do is refine my exposure. So I am going to come through here and do fine adjustments. That's the best way I can do it. We'd use the sliders up here in basic, and they were some pretty drastic changes. But if we come down to the tone curve, we can adjust this stuff in more of a fine incremental way here. And a lot of times you end up with an S curve. This one here, because we have such harsh highlights, well, it kind of looks like an S curve if you look up here. Sort of. But you can see how little I adjusted that just to be able to add a little bit of crispness to it. Okay. All right. I don't know. I'll hide. Trying to figure this this little deal here was kind of in my way. I learned that I can move that around. See, I'm still learning how to do these live videos, so you got to pardon me. Okay, so I've refined our with our tone curve. The color mixer, this is a really good place to refine your saturation. If you notice up here at the top, I didn't mess with the saturation or the vibrance down here at all. Because typically, let's just say I have a green field of yellow flowers and I don't want to saturate everything. I don't want to saturate the green, but I want the yellow flowers to pop out. So then I come down here to the color mixer and I'll come here and I'll affect the saturation in the photo. And like I said, I didn't touch the saturation or vibrance sliders up here. A lot of people would just grab those and do a global saturation correction on here, or adjustment, I should say. There. So in this particular case, I might take the saturation on the green part down a little bit. And the yellow, because green has yellow in it, it's also going to affect your greens too. So I'm messing with the greens and the yellows a little bit. And if you look into it, you got two kinds of greens. You have the moss, which is kind of yellow. The rest of this is kind of green. So, and that's just the saturation. A lot of times, if I get in here to the hue, I start messing up colors. So I try not to mess with that kind of stuff. And the luminance, if you wanted to make it brighter or darker, you can do that right in here too. So, okay. So then color grading, I don't do because, I mean, I do it sometimes, but you can do the same thing basically with the color mixer. See, there's a lot of like magenta and blue presets and things that are supposed to emulate film or something like that. And they do a lot of this color grading in that stuff. I do color grading when I do videos, but I don't do it in my stills. So that doesn't mean it's wrong or you shouldn't do it. It's just that this is my workflow. I'm showing you what I do when I process my photos. If it's right or wrong, this is just what I do. You may find somebody else that has a video that's even better, that has a better workflow or something like that for you. So just keep that in mind. I don't ever claim that I know everything. That's fact. So transform, I do that in real estate because it helps me straighten out my walls, make sure they're perpendicular. Lens blur, I don't do that. The effects, the only thing I do in here is maybe bring in a vignette. Okay, I'll vignette almost every one of my photos. And I know I mentioned this the last time I did this 2 Sundays ago, but I pull my vignette in, and then I'll stop and I'll walk away or something, and then I'll come back and look at it. And I always feel like the vignette should be there, and the vignette should be effective. In other words, the reason for a vignette is to pull your attention more towards the edges, towards the center of the photograph. Okay. So it can still do that, and it could be effective in doing that and still not be something that's really noticeable. Okay. So like I said, I'll walk away and then come back to it. So I've added a little bit of vignette, if you guys can notice it here. Watch. Without, with. And it's just slight. It's just slight. You know? Okay. All right. That's pretty much it there. What I'll do right now is I'll go into some of my dodging and burning stuff. Okay. And I'll show you what I do and how I do dodging and burning, air quotes, dodging and burning in Lightroom here. Okay. So I'll take and get into my masks that are up here. And as soon as Adobe started putting these masks in the Lightroom, it put Lightroom in a total different realm. Because before that, I had to do dodging and burning in Photoshop and not in Lightroom. And the more that Lightroom is improved, the less you have to do in Photoshop. And I can really see that someday, really the only thing that I like to do in Photoshop that I can't really do here is maybe apply an Orton effect to it. Okay. Everything else I can do in here. And I'm sure that a person could probably develop some sort of an adjustment in here that would emulate a Orton effect. But let me go through here, and I'm wanting to balance some light in here. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a sky filter made. All right. And you notice I clicked on sky and this got pink up here. That's showing you where it's selecting it. Okay. And I want this so I can just kind of control the sky as I go through, because I want the sky blue. Ultimately, when I finish this, I don't want the sky all blown out, right? Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hit once you have one mask made, it changes. So you have to hit the plus mark to add a new one. Okay. Next one I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a radial gradient filter. I'm going to lay it in here. Okay, now the reason I'm doing that is because the contrast between that area where the waterfall is and these areas outside of that is going to be different. Okay, plus this is kind of enhancing a natural vignette that we have in that area. Okay, so I'm bringing that area up a little bit. Okay, and let's talk about atmosphere. Let's talk about what's in the sky or the air between you and your landscape subject. Okay, if you stand on a hillside and you've got flowers in the foreground, they're going to be more clear and they're going to have more contrast than the hillside or the mountain in the distance. Okay, so if you stand there and look, you got more contrast in color and you have less the more you look through the atmosphere that's in the sky and the air and stuff like that. It does two things. It takes away some contrast, plus it takes away a little bit of focus. So don't feel like you have to focus stack. A lot of people are focus stacking, and the one way, or the primary reason for focus stacking is to make sure that everything's in acceptable focus when you get your foreground close to the front element on your lens. Okay, so you got to keep in mind that the closer that your subject gets to the front element of the lens, the narrower your depth of field becomes. Okay, so if you get really close to that flower and focus on that flower, even if you go down to f8 or f14 or more, you're still going to have a very soft or blurry background. Okay, so you can tackle that one of two ways. You can either back up away from that flower, which will increase your depth of field, and then zoom in on that. Okay, so you want the flower big, you want to stand back from it to increase your depth of field, and then zoom in on it and make it bigger. Okay, if you have something in the distance, let's say you have Mount Hood in the distance, it will also make Mount Hood look more formidable, more larger. Okay, it's called lens compression, and it works really good in composition. It's a good tool to have in your toolkit for composition. So I'll give you an example. I was at a lavender farm in Hood River one year, a few years back, I should say, and a lot of people were getting close to the flowers in the front, but the mountain in the distance was blurry. I mean, even I went up there and I got a little bit too close to them. So then I got back, put my 70 to 200 on instead of my 24 to 70, and I stood back away, and then I zoomed in and was able to get everything in acceptable focus from the lavender out to the mountain. Okay. Now I'm going to give you another little trick for focus. All right. And I know I explained this the last live video, but this is important, I feel, to be able to explain how I get things in focus. Okay. So what I like to do in an ideal situation is have my camera set up, have my live view set on, and I like to use focus peaking if you've got a camera that does that. If not, it's not that big a deal. But I like to bring my live view up and then focus the lens to infinity, which makes the foreground blurry, right? You've all done it before. You focus to infinity, you know, and it focuses past infinity somehow, right? Or something. But you focus to infinity, which makes your foreground soft, and then focus back from infinity and watch your foreground. And as soon as your foreground comes into focus, stop there, because your flower is here. See, your flower is like right here, and your depth of field, you don't, I'm backwards on the screen here. So your depth of field is out here. And if you're moving it into this part, to this flower here, you'll be able to move that depth of field behind you, which results in you wasting area in your depth of field that could be in front of you. So take it out, put it on manual, and I'm talking about landscape. I'm not talking about wildlife or anything else. I'm talking about strictly landscape, because landscapers, we could stand there with our tripods with our hands in our pockets or sitting there with our arms crossed or something there and just sit and think about what we're going to do. We're not photographing things that are happening fast or anything like that. So we want to make sure that everything we do in the field, we do so that when we get back, we have all the information that we need to be able to create a photograph. So we want to make sure we have good composition, a good focus, and a good histogram. Okay. And once you've got those three things, you got everything you need. Okay. So if you're standing there, flip it to manual, even if you look through your viewfinder, take it out to infinity and then pull it back from infinity until the foreground just comes into focus, and then stop. And then you'll maximize the focus that you have available with your lens. There's a lot of people that have asked me if some of my photos are focus stacked when they're not. So I'll add one more thing. Hazel's dreaming. She's okay. Hazel's dreaming. She's at my feet down here sleeping. So what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Don't be afraid to stop down. You're going to get a lot of people that are going, yeah, you don't want to stop down past F14 because you get diffraction. You know, you don't want diffraction. I've looked high and low in my photos for something that looks like diffraction, and I can't seem to find it. So I either don't know what I'm looking for, which I think I do, or it's not creating a consequence that's affecting your photo in a negative way. So think of it this way. I'd rather have a focused photo that might have some diffraction someplace than not stop down. So in other words, I'd rather stop down and have a deeper depth of focus, so I have focus, than I would to open the aperture up and narrow down my depth of focus and hope that it's deep enough. Okay. So a lot of people go, well, you can't go past F8 or F14 because blah, 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 you know. Well, they make those lenses able to do that for a reason. And the reason is you need sometimes to push your depth of field as deep as you can go, especially as a landscape photographer. You know, very few people like weddings or real estate or sports or street photography. None of that stuff has a situation where you're trying to photograph a subject that's 2 feet in front of you and another part of the photograph that's 6 miles away from you. You see, this landscape photography is a total different game than any of those other situations. Okay, so don't be afraid to stop down and focus to infinity pull it back from infinity until the foreground comes into focus, and then go from there. I hope that makes sense. I may have been rambling a little bit, but focus is very, very important. So, yep, Club F64. That's right. Ansel Adams. Okay, now let's move on to what we were doing here. I'm getting off on these tangents, but I feel that my point that I'm trying to explain is important for landscape photography. Okay, so let's get back to what we were doing here. I'm adjusting for this little area here, and I want it to fade away. So this radial tool, you can adjust the gradient on it by moving this inner circle in and out. Okay, make a large one or a small one. It's up to you. I try to keep it, somewhere in the middle, and you can also make it round, narrower. Okay, so now what we've basically done is we have dodged this area. Okay, now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, there needs to be a little bit more light at the top. That's where all the light is coming from, but it looks a little dark up there. So I'm going to click linear gradient. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pull this down like this. If you want it to go straight across, hit shift, it'll straighten up. If you want it at an angle, just put it in as an angle. Okay. All right, I'm dropping that in. I'm bringing my exposure up a little bit because it's up here at the top. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go back down here to the mask that I made for the sky, and I'm going to just bring the sky down because we brought the light in at the top with the linear gradient, and it made the sky a little bit darker up there. So I'm going to bring that sky back up again, or it made it brighter, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Okay. All right. So now what we've done is we've made 3 different masks. One for the sky, one for this light area with a little bit of soft contrast, and then we adjusted a little bit for light bleed at the top of the frame. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me see. What am I forgetting here? I don't know. What do you guys think? Oh, I know what I got to do. Back then, I was shooting with probably could have been my D3, and it had terrible dust bunny problems. So I know I can see some dust bunnies in here. I'm just so used to not having to deal with them anymore. Whoops, there it is. I'm taking the remove tool up here, and I'm going to go over these. Hit your shift bar, and you should be able to move it around. Okay. There's a kind of a vague one there. You can move your mouse, spin your mouse around, and it'll make it. Whoops. Holy. Control Z. All right. See, there was one up here too, I saw. I'm just so used to not having to deal with them lately that I completely forgot about this. So, all right. Oops. All right. Let's click back out again. And over here, it'll ask you what you want to do. I want to remove those. So I'm going to remove. Okay. The D90 days. Tim has known me since I was shooting with my old D90. Before that, it was the D40X. That was my first digital SLR, the Nikon D40X. All right, we're good. We're looking good. All right. Does anybody have any questions before we go to the next chapter of the processing situation here? Because I'm going to be pulling this out of Lightroom, and I'm going to show you a little bit in Photoshop. Okay. All right. So let's do this. All right. Okay. I'll hit right click. Hey, Clyde, how you doing, buddy? I'm glad you're here, man. Did you miss the Lightroom part? Because we're getting ready to go into Photoshop. So I right click, hit edit in, hit Photoshop. Good. I'm glad to see you here, Clyde. Thanks. I'm going to be trying to do these every Sunday. I know there'll be a few that I'll miss. Like last Sunday, I missed because of Mother's Day. So, all right. Oh, something else too is Photoshop is some. It's spend a little bit of time with me, and you'll see that Photoshop's pretty simple. Okay. Let's talk about color space a little bit here too. Let's go down here to the color profile. All right. The source profile is Photo RGB, and that gives you the largest gamut of color. But when you export this as a JPEG to show up on Facebook or something like that, make sure it's always an sRGB. Okay. So when it's imported out of Lightroom into Photoshop, it's exported as Pro Photo. You're still seeing Lightroom. This is Photoshop. That's Lightroom. Thing is, all right, so check this out. Every time Adobe comes up with a new update for Lightroom, or excuse me, ACR, Adobe Camera Raw, every time they come up with a new update for it, it seems like it's getting closer and closer to Lightroom. So this is just me talking, but you'll see, probably see them merge here one of these days. So, all right. Now, I usually duplicate this, so I always have one here in the corner, just in case I do something stupid. And see what this is. What we're doing now is a non-lossy workflow. So we've always got an original down here somewhere. Okay, so back in the old days, I always wanted to make sure I duplicated it because we didn't have a lossy workflow. It seems like, or back then we were operating directly on the photo, and so it wasn't a separate layer, it was a part of the photo. And so you're still seeing Lightroom. That's Lightroom. Lightroom's in the gutter, and now that's Photoshop. Let's see. What do you guys see now? What do you guys see on my screen now? Lightroom. Lightroom's in the gutter. Huh. You guys don't see the bear on my screen, eh? Let's see. That should be Photoshop. Let me see here. How could you see Lightroom if it's not even on my screen? Okay, you seeing I'll figure this out. Lightroom. Okay, hold on a second. Let me try. Let me see here. I told you guys that I was new to this. Photoshop. Hey, I did it. What am I sharing to YouTube? Everything, man. All right, on. Okay, I figured it out. Thanks for letting me know, you guys. I appreciate it because I wouldn't have known otherwise. So, hey, Whew. I told you, man, this is stressful. Right on, we're in the shop now, okay? All right, so I wanted to show you this, the profile. When you bring it in from Lightroom into Photoshop, make sure that you're set to export at Pro RGB. Now, if you're exporting out of Lightroom as a JPEG, make sure you're set to sRGB, okay? All right. All right, let me see now. What do I want to do here? First thing I think I want to do, because I've made just about every adjustment I think I want to make, is I want to do an Orton effect. Let me show you how to do that. Let's see, my overlay. Oh, you're talking about my face? Well, I don't know how to do that. You guys are asking a lot from me. I'm not quite sure how to do that. Let me see if there's a way to do that. Cancel. Yeah, I tried dragging it. It won't drag. Won't go anywhere for some reason. I may have to use OBS or something like that in the future to be able to have an option to be able to move this screen around on here, which is kind of a shame. So let me see here. You guys can't see my layers panel, can you? So let me move this. Let me move that up. Move this up. There. Can you set the corner? I don't see any way to change it, Alan, to be honest with you. I mean, manage. Pop out dashboard. Yeah, I know I've clicked on it, but it's not moving. No. Because I'm seeing what you guys are seeing on my other screen. I got two screens here, so yeah. I don't know. I can't drag and drop it anywhere. It won't let me do it. But what I've done is I've moved my right panel up so that you can see what's over there. Should be able to see what's over there. Let me see here. Let's see when this pops out. It's not popping out. Well, this is kind of okay. All right. For some reason, my actions panel isn't working, but I have an action that I call Ortonish. I'm just going to click on it. But if you guys want this action, I can message me or something afterwards, and I can send you a link for it. Okay. All right. So you can see those. And now what my Orton action did was add another layer with all the Orton stuff inside of it. Okay. So this is the dark layer. And this is the light layer. And notice there's not a whole lot of whiteness up here, so it's not going to be affecting it a lot. And I have it set at 50%, so I can always bring it up. And you can see it's adding glow to the highlights. Sometimes it's really easy to get carried away with this stuff. And I like to do this on all of my sliders. I'll move them all the way over to the right, all the way over to the left, and then find a place someplace in the middle that I like. So I moved all the way to the left, and I'm moving it over just a little bit. Sometimes it's only just a couple percent. You can always turn it off and on to see if it really made a difference. Made a slight difference, but I'd like to make one other point too, is that if you're in the field and I haven't have an action for that. It's been so long since I've done it manual, but let me see if I can remember. All right, so let's do this. Now you guys might have to come back and watch this video over again. All right, but this is, you can create your own action from this too. And my problem is that I haven't done it manually for a while, so stick with me here and we'll get it done. But actions are great. You know, if you come up with something that you do all the time, create an action for it, just click on it. But it makes you forget how to do it without the action. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this layer. Okay, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to go to, what is it? Multiply. Okay, I'm going to hit multiply, and then I'm going to come up to filter. I'm going to hit blur, Gaussian blur, and I'll give it and run it back and forth. You can see what it's doing, you know, but I'm just going to bring it over just a little bit, maybe 5. Hit OK. And the amount depends on how many megapixels your camera is. Okay. All right. So now I've got that layer done. I'm going to hit duplicate layer. I'm going to come up here and hit screen. And then I'm going to hit filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I'll pull that one up about. You're going to see the maybe 2 or 3. This takes a little practice to be able to figure out just exactly what you're doing with it. So let's see, was that it? And I'll put them into a deal. Let's see here. Okay. So now we've got these two made. This one's for the shadows, and this one's for the highlights. No, backwards. I got them backwards. But either way. Okay. Now you can come in here and you can vary the opacity of each one separately. And if you collapse the group, so I put them into a folder, then you can vary the opacity to the whole dang thing if you want to. So did you guys see how I did that? Now, if you guys go back and do it yourself, play with the amount and then look at the picture and see if it's too blurry. You know, if it's too blurry, you got too much Orton effect in it. And if you do, you can vary it right here and then just add a little bit globally to it. Okay. So now, if you don't want to go through that rigmarole, message me afterwards and I can send you a link where you can download the action and then install it into Photoshop yourself. So, okay. And you got to be careful with Orton effect because it can really, really soften your photo. You know, and if it's getting too blurry and too soft, then you just back away from it a little bit. Okay. So, all right, let me think. Let me show you how to do masks in Photoshop while I'm here. Some people may not be familiar with it. So I'm going to take the Orton effect here, okay? And let me turn it up a little bit so you guys can see it from there. All right. So now I want to create a mask. I come down here and it's this rectangle with a circle in the middle of it. You can either click on it. It creates a white mask. Or you can hold down Alt or Option, depending if you got a Mac or a PC, hit it again, and it gives you a black mask. Control Z. I'm going to back up again. So let's say we hit a white mask. All right. Excuse me. Let me back up. Let's do it this way. Alt or Option mask creates a black one. Now let's just say we only wanted that Orton effect up in the sky. All right. So now we're going to take a white paintbrush. Okay. And white is going to, the black right now is showing just the bottom layer. Okay. Oh, how do you shoot the blend mode? Okay. Blend mode is right here. up above the layers, Don, if you look just above the layers, you got blend modes right here. And they're kind of fun to play with too sometimes. Okay. I want to make this one normal. And now, all right. So let's say you have a white layer. I don't mean to be confusing for you guys, but let me put a white layer up here. Okay, white layer, black paintbrush will reveal what's underneath. Okay, so let's do this. Let's make it different underneath just because, so we can see it. Okay, I'm going to make it darker. Now, if we click this off, you can see the bottom layer is darker, right? Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to have the darker areas revealed in the upper area. So we're going to take a black paintbrush. We're going to paint all around the outside, and you'll notice there's black and white on the mask, right? So the black is showing what's underneath, and the white is showing what this layer is. Okay. So black in this particular case on a white mask, black is going to reveal what's underneath. Okay. So now if we were to go back and create a black mask, hit Alt, mask. Now we can take the white paintbrush and we can paint in where we want it to be. Okay. So now if we paint in the warp effect just in this area, it's only going to be in this area here. Okay. That's basically all there is to masks, is that you're putting a piece of paper over the top and taking your black paintbrush and cutting it out to show what's underneath of it. So, all right. Let me think. So I always like to go through that, so let me get back here. I want to come back again. All right. So now I'm going to take this layer and pull it down here. Don't apply, just delete. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you one more thing that I do a lot, is that I create a 50% gray layer, and I have an action for that too, but it's really easy. All right. And I'll show you why we need a 50% gray layer every now and then. Okay. Yeah, Clyde, I can change the opacity of that layer. To be able to change the opacity of a mask separately, you got to unlatch them here. There's a little chain here. Unclick it, and you can do the opacity separately here. So now it's at 40. Oh, it's not. It's doing the whole layer, so I apologize. Something that I do, if you want to do something like that, let's just say I create a layer or a mask. I paint over it in black. All right. And then I can come up here to edit and hit fade brush tool. And that will allow me to be able to fade and change the opacity of that layer. And the paintbrush for certainly. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, for sure. But this fade tool here works really good in a lot of cases. So, all right. And as far as when you're writing or painting over the mask with a different opacity paintbrush, all you got to do is just click your paintbrush up here and then hit 0 for 100%. You look up here, it says opacity. Let's just say we want 50% opacity. We hit 5, changes to 50%. And now when we paint over it, the paintbrush is at 50%. You'll notice it looks gray over here instead of black. Okay. So yeah, you can use different masks of different opacity. You can always paint over it, change the opacity with Fade Brush tool. Okay. Does that answer your question, Clyde? Yeah. Okay. What I meant is, how do you choose the best one? Oh, the best blend modes. You use, because let me show you how drastic they can be. So this is darken, color burn, darker, lighten. Now you watch as we go down here, they get pretty garish sometimes. I mean, it's good to go in and play with them if you think there's going to be something that's going to help your process. But you can see here that, you know, it's usually a pretty drastic situation when you're messing with your blend modes. And really, the only reason I changed the blend mode was to be able to create that Orton effect. So, all right. Control Z. I'm going to go back to showing you guys 50% gray layer. And then we'll be pretty close to wrapping this up tonight. So, all right. Hit Alt or Option on your keyboard and come over here. And there's a square with a plus symbol in the middle of it, down at the bottom down here. Can you see that? Probably not, because my face is in the way. The very bottom, there's a deal down here. Doggone it. Here, hold on a second. I got to show this to you guys so you can see it. Whoops, I didn't want it up there. All right, hold on. All right, if you look down here at the bottom, well, it moved my face with it. Well, son of a gun. I'm going to have to figure out how to resolve that situation. No doubt. Huh. I guess I'll have to describe it to you guys. I'm going to work on this and see if I can figure out how to move this around. So this is me learning how to do YouTube live videos. Down in the right-hand corner, you're going to see a trash can. You can see a square with a plus symbol in it. You'll see a folder. You're going to see a circle with a half black, half white. It's all down here on the right-hand side if you guys are following along. If you watch this video afterwards, just look down at the very bottom of this right panel over here, and you'll see behind my fat head these options down here. So now what I want you to do is hit Alt or Option and then hit the square with the plus symbol in the middle of it. And you're going to get a dialog box that's going to pop up here. All right. What I do is I'll change the mode to soft light. This activates this, which says fill with neutral color, which is 50% gray, and it okay. It's the strangest thing. If you use a 50% gray on your mask, Lightroom can't see it. Okay. So what I like to do is I use those if I'm going to be doing something like this. And we talked about doing vignetting. I'm going to show you another way to do it in Photoshop that I like to do sometimes. So I take my brush, I make it as soft as I can, and typically as large as I can. And then I just go around the edge like this, and I paint in a vignette. We're still at 50%. Control Z, 0. We'll do it at 100%. Go around and paint this down here. Now, the reason I like vignettes that only go along the bottom instead of over the top is because that's directing light down into the situation. Okay. All right. So that gave it a little bit of depth. When you're going from a darker area into a brighter area, it creates a feeling of depth. Okay. All right. I'm going to change this one here. Oh, it's already at 40%. Okay. All right. I think I've showed you just about as much as I even pushed this one a little bit further. We went from having a histogram that was spiked on both sides because it was a very sunny day. I don't know how many times I've had people ask me or say that they've been in another workshop where the instructor said that you don't go out and you don't shoot waterfalls or creeks during the middle of the day. And I usually reply that I don't understand why not, And so I like to take people out and challenge them in bright light, and this photo here, it just proves that you can get a good photo even without bracketing, because probably would have been maybe a better situation to bracket these and combine them. But with a good histogram, you'll notice that I was able to recover the highlights and the shadows in that just with a couple sliders in Lightroom. So, all right, when I'm finished there, I'm going to go layer, flatten image, and then I'm going to close it. And it'll say, do you want to save it? I say, yes, I want to save it. All right. Then we'll take this down and we'll bring Lightroom up. And voila, there it is in Lightroom. Come on over here. Yeah. So then Photoshop sends it back over to Lightroom. Now you want to make a few changes if you'd like. Even afterwards, you can go back and change some more. Let's bring this up here and bring some more light into that reflection. Son of a gun. Okay, let me think here. Okay, I've got to come over here. Then I've got to hit Window, Lightroom, Share. Wonder why it won't change on its own. I appreciate you letting me know, you guys. You guys are my team here. Because if I wouldn't have known you guys couldn't see it, I would never have known. So, all right. So let me get this back to where it was. All right. So we brought it back in to Lightroom, and you guys can see Lightroom now, I think. I'm going to assume that you guys are seeing. All right, so you bring it in the Lightroom. You can always make more adjustments if you want to. In this particular case, I think I'm going to do a linear one. Yay! Tell you what, I'm going to get this figured out one way or another. I'm doing a linear gradient because I want to bring the water in. So I'm going to drag this up from the edge. I'm going to hit my shift key to straighten it out. And I'm going to bring a little bit up into there. Make that reflection a little bit brighter. And then see if there's anything else that I care to do. Okay. It looks good to me. I don't think there's a whole lot that needs to be done to it. Let's see. Something else that I do. I'll be honest with you. I don't export them out of Lightroom. I export them out of Photoshop. So let me take this back to Photoshop. We've done a couple edits here. We can still take it back in, put it into Photoshop, because I want to show you some sharpening options here for sharpening. So you guys can there, we're back to Photoshop. Okay, I brought it back into Photoshop. I'm going to duplicate this because we're doing some destructive adjustments by doing this. You can use filter, sharpen, smart sharpen in Photoshop if you wanted to. But what I like to do is lately I've been using Topaz. So Topaz denoise has got a sharpening. Photo's a little soft, especially since um, let's see, I want to do this one. Uh, I don't know, whatever. Okay, let me see here. I want it a little bigger than that. You can see that I have some leaf movement in it. Now what I'm going to do is I want to click through these until in fact, I'm going to go back here to this one so I can compare. That's way too sharp. That one's not sharp enough. Now this one here looks better. So I'm going to use that one to sharpen it. You got to be careful with Topaz because you can really over sharpen these. Hey Don, excuse me. You can choose if it's PSD or a TIFF when you toss it back and forth. You can go in your preferences and choose PSD, which is what I use. But a TIFF is also, has all of the ability to make adjustments like a raw file. So TIFF is a good option. It's not a bad option. So, but you can choose. All right. So now we did a little bit of sharpening. Layer, flatten image. I want to hit. Wait a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what I do. Yeah. Sometimes it has to buffer itself, Renee. But we'll see. All right. What was I going to do? Oh, yeah. I was going to prepare this to be displayed on like Photoshop or something like that. So, all right. I go edit, convert to profile. And this is another action that I have. And I convert it from Pro Photo RGB to sRGB. Remember I said earlier that you want it to be an sRGB to show up on a screen, Hit OK. It changes the profile. Then I come down here to image size and I use 2048 on the long side. So if it's horizontal, the width is going to be 2048. If it's vertical, the height's going to be 2048. Hit OK. Now 2048 is just something that I've come to use as time goes by because it appears to me that is the size that Facebook will resize your photo to if you were to upload one. So if you upload one that's smaller than that, it's going to upsize it. And if you upload one that's bigger than that, it's going to downsize it. So it's going to adjust the size of your photo to be displayed the way they want it to. So I believe from my research that it's 2048, and a lot of people will look at my photos online on Facebook or something like that and tell me they look really sharp there. So just remember 2048 on the long side and convert it to sRGB. And then I go, okay, Don, I lied to you. I am tossing these back and forth as TIFF files. I apologize. So yeah, TIFF. Okay. So that's what happens when you get something set up and then work on it for a couple of years. You forget what you set it to. So, but that can always be changed. So I've changed it to 2048. I'll go File, Save a Copy. Then I come through and I change it to JPEG. and then I save a copy of it somewhere. I usually change it to -2. That's just my system, and then I'll save, hit OK, and then it's done. Now I hit Control-Z twice, okay, because we changed the color profile, and we also changed the sides. So I went backed up twice. Then I hit close, hit yes, and go back into Lightroom with the changes you made. Voila. All right. Is there anything you guys have questions about, or you want me to show you, or anything? Let me know. You got my ear right now. Got any questions? Lay it on me. Let me see here. There, can you see me? All righty. Well, hope everybody got something out of that. I know it was a little chaotic, but thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. You can message me in on Facebook Messenger if you want, or I'm going to put my email in here. If you guys want to email me, we can do that too. Sometimes it might take me a day or so to get back to you, but I'll always reply. So there's my email. And so, yeah, message me or email me anytime you want. Email's probably going to be better, so I can send you that action probably a little better or something. I don't know. But hey, Clyde, Shaka, bro. Thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate it. You too, Tim. Renee, thank you. Don, you're the man. You are the man. Alan, you're my brother. We're brothers in arms, man. So, and Pat McCabery, if you're still sticking around, appreciate it. Let's go out and do something as soon as possible. Pat's a neighbor of mine. We've been trying to get together and do something here. So I think it's time that him and I make it. Craig, if you're still there, I appreciate you showing up. Till next time, buddy. Oh, you're welcome, man. I appreciate you guys showing up. I love sharing what I do. And so if you guys have any questions, I don't really have a whole lot of secrets. Well, there is that one secret, and never mind. We won't mention that. Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. And I'm going to be doing these every Sunday night. So if you guys are curious about stuff and want to know something, send me questions or send me something. And then what we'll do is we'll deal with it in one of our these little live feeds, and it'll be fun. We'll have a party every Sunday night and process pictures. Okay. So, oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much. All right, guys, I'm going to end this. And thank you guys graciously. I mean, really appreciate you guys. I appreciate your support. I just can't do what I'm doing without you. My mom told me she watched my video last time and I hit my desk, and I got to quit doing that. So anyway, all right, everybody. Thanks a bunch. I appreciate it. Stay in touch. Be safe.